Welcome to another episode of Monster Men.
Monster Men, arr!
I'm Jack Campisi, and this is Hunter Shea,
How are you?
noted horror author.
Note that I am an author.
So today we're talking about a topic that we're going to have to keep our eye on time because you and I can talk about this all day.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about zombies.
Not the Monroeville zombies in particular, but zombies in general.
Zombies in general. So, there was Night of the Living Dead when I was a kid that I was like, okay, whatever. But the movie that did it for me was Dawn of the Dead.
You know what? Because we were old enough to fully appreciate blood, guts, and
Yeah, the gore in that movie, the humor, Night of the Living Dead for me was a little slow.
Yeah, that wasn't slow at all.
This wasn't slow at all. Although, I think a kid now watches Dawn of the Dead, and there's stretches of that movie that they probably find a little slow, like when they're hanging out in the mall.
Right.
But for our generation, that was like oh my god, the guy got his head chopped off by a helicopter.
This is... Also, do you go by a mall now without thinking, how would I fortify this place, and what would I do? I've thought about this ever since I was 10, when I saw Dawn of the Dead.
Then, I guess your progression in zombies, if it was anything like mine, was you started seeking out the lower budget zombie movies.
Zombie by Dario, I think it's Dario Argento. There were a couple of Italian ones.
That's the one with the shark.
Yes.
Which they actually use that clip now. There's a TV commercial for something where they actually show the zombie wrestling the shark. And this movie goes by a bunch of different names, but if you Google zombie and shark, you can find the clip on YouTube.
Classic.
Absolutely.
That was the only reason to watch that movie.
Yeah. And there's a lot of really bad zombie movies out there.
There were terrible ones. So you had Dawn of the Dead, and then you had to wade through all the junk. And then you waited for Day of the Dead, which I think I have here.
Which Day of the Dead's an interesting one because this is beloved by some people and hated by other people.
I think when it came out, it was kind of lukewarm. To me, it had more blood than any of the other ones. So that's, as a kid, as a teenager, that was all I needed. But now when you see the absolute flotsam and jetsam that has come about, including a remake of this that was just criminal, this seems great.
Which the remakes kind of brings us to the state of zombies now. These zombies move slow, and then slowly but surely, zombies sped up.
Yeah.
When you get to the Zack Snyder remake of Dawn of the Dead, which has the father from Modern Family in it.
Oh, that's right.
And if you think about it, he's probably the biggest star now. You had Ving Rhames, you had Sarah Polley in that movie.
Yep.
They're all whatever. But that guy is like the king now.
Yep.
And he was the jerk in that movie.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Phil Dunphy is a zombie. So if you're a Modern Family fan, go watch the remake of Dawn of the Dead. That movie I thought was I thought it was okay. Better than most remakes, but not...
It didn't make me run out, because I saw it reluctantly.
Yeah.
It has Johnny Cash doing the theme song.
Yeah.
In the beginning. So right there. It got points right there.
Like, it wasn't perfect, but it was okay.
Right.
I didn't even see the remake of Day of the Dead.
Oh, God.
Because you warned me.
It is... Mina Suvari from American Pie is in that. It's unwatchable. As unwatchable as the new stuff that George Romero has foisted on us in the last couple of years. Which is sad, because...
Now, obviously, the most significant thing to happen to zombies since probably the remake of Dawn of the Dead is The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, and that appeals to everybody. That appeals to my parents. My parents are almost 70. They love that. They can't wait to see the next 6 or more episodes.
The Walking Dead is on AMC. It's a zombie TV show that sort of centers more on the people surviving the zombie, coping with it, dealing with it, surviving with it. The zombies are sort of there in the background, and they're more prevalent in some episodes than the other. But
right. It's a piece about characters. It's about characters surviving the end of the world.
But that is a comic book.
And a great comic book.
And the comic book is basically, the author said that he watched the zombie movie, and then at the end of the zombie movie, he wants to know what happens next, because if that actually happened, you hold yourself up in a mall for a couple of weeks, but then what do you do? So The Walking Dead is sort of just, the story keeps going, and characters go nuts and die, and
And when the characters die, you are so emotionally invested in them that a piece of you feels like it dies with them. Especially characters. If you read the comic book, you're waiting every month, and you're into these characters sometimes for 2-3 years, and they don't care. They'll kill anybody, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it is fantastic. And if you get into The Walking Dead, then you'll have other friends who are Walking Dead friends, and then all you'll do is, did you read it yet? Are you caught up yet? So then the TV, how do you compare the TV show to the comic book?
I actually think they did a great job with the TV show. I think they made changes, major changes to it, but it's changes that made it good for the screen.
I agree. Because if they just did exactly what happened in the comic book, we'd just be waiting for, when is this going to happen? When's this guy going to die? So now,
there are characters in there that weren't in the comic book, and there's situations that didn't exist. So
there are characters that are alive that died in the comic book.
Right. So you and I are watching this with totally fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Because this is totally new to us.
So I'm loving the fact that the zombie show has made the mainstream.
And I think it's the last. I'm worried that there's been so much zombie stuff. 28 days later, 28 weeks later, all the zombie movies that have come out, the zombie books that have come out, and unfortunately, most of them are not done with a deft hand. You got here Brian Keene, this guy kicks ass. The Rising, to me, is what started the whole thing all over again. Even if you don't know his name, this book was responsible for the whole rise in zombie movies and books.
This is a great book.
Phenomenal. And The City of the Dead sequel after this, phenomenal.
Yeah, like summer reading, you'll bang through this and take zombies in a whole different direction. We trade back and forth with Walking Deads and stuff like this, and I remember, I hadn't finished City of the Dead yet, and you were like, when are you going to be done with it? I want to read it. I think that Walking Dead and this are the two big game changers. I think Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead brought zombies back to kind of the mainstream.
Yeah.
But I think diehards like us, it was discovering a book like this and going, oh, somebody actually wrote a good horror novel about zombies.
But if you were to go to the movies, if I was to turn on my TV and go to the Netflix queue, my wife and I have found no less than 25 crappy zombie movies that have come out in the last 3 years that are unwatchable. We put them on, like Campfire Zombie Cookout, although Zombie Strippers is pretty good, with Jenna Jameson.
Well, Robert Englund's in it.
So it's not that bad. But there's just so much garbage. We just saw a good French one that was really good. But nobody watches
Les Zombies.
So I have to read and watch zombie movies, so they're not going to go for that. But there are, I'm telling you, the wave is cresting, but if you can, while it's still around, Warm Bodies is the first this is literature. This isn't a typical pulp kind of horror novel. This is written beautifully. It's poetic almost, and it's a story of the world after zombies, and it's a zombie falling in love with a woman. Sounds stupid as hell. It is unbelievable. Actually, this made my wife cry.
This isn't Twilight with zombies, right?
No, there's nothing pretty in this.
Good.
So it's a very ugly world, and it's an ugly situation that they find themselves in. But this is written with such passion and beauty. Blew my mind.
Well, I'm going to borrow this one.
That's for you. Another book, if you want to read for just friggin' fun with zombies, Ape Shit. This is a Carlton Mellick III. He's the godfather of bizarro fiction where anything goes. This is a Friday the 13th meets zombies book.
Nice.
This is a slasher book where nothing dies. Even little pieces keep going.
Oh, that's kind of like Return of the Living Dead.
This is phenomenal, and he also wrote a follow-up that's out now, Zombies and Shit. As you can tell, he likes the word shit in his books. Phenomenal. Hard to find. Not many people really know who he is, but if you discover him, you're going to be hooked on him. But these are some of the good gems, but there's so much trash out there. It kind of pisses me off because it's a great genre. There's so much stuff that you can do with it. But
let's quickly bang through the must-see zombie movies then. Obviously,
Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. I'd say Day of the Dead.
Yeah, you might as well see all three. I think 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later.
And I prefer 28 Weeks.
So do I, the second one. with Jeremy Renner.
Children shouldn't play with dead things. This is from the 70s by Bob Clark, who did A Christmas Story. And this is pre-Christmas Story when he also was doing Black Christmas.
Yeah,
and Porky's.
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead, awesome.
Comedy, loving tribute to George Romero.
Yes.
And I think a good zombie movie in itself, even though it's funny as anything.
And Zombie World. Zombieland.
Zombieland is great.
Zombieland is great.
Best cameo ever in a movie. We won't say anything else.
No. Who are you going to call?
And then I guess gotta watch the Walking Dead TV show.
Absolutely.
And Return of the Living Dead, the first one.
Even maybe the second.
Yeah, because there's one line in the second one that you gotta see. But that's actually where Fast Zombies first kind of came from. Send more cops.
Send more paramedics.
So that would be go out. That's where you start your zombie trek, and then read some of these books. And
if you go to my blog at www, do we say that anymore, or is it assumed? HunterShea.com. I actually have.
We'll put it up on the screen here.
I actually have a 3-part zombie story on there that's kind of a different take on it. Zombies who die, and all they want is their jobs back. So.
Which some of us feel like zombies when we're at work already. So.
All the time.
Excellent. All right, so that closes up the zombie episode. So I hope you're not brain dead now. And we'll see you next time on Monster Men.